2, 1, and let's go. Hello and welcome, everyone, to
Oh, I haven't heard
back.
that in a while.
our podcast channel and our channel in general, because we're back, baby, with podcast number version
In podcast
2.1,
form.
version 3, it doesn't matter. Somewhere here, I'll edit in a joke where I just say the actual number. ... Okay, so what's the topic for today as our welcome back? Today we're just going to talk about gatekeeping.
Yeah,
The
we're gonna
good,
keep away everyone who's trying
the
to listen
bad,
here.
and the reason that we gatekept our old videos that you can no longer find on this channel. Sometimes
We actually
gatekeeping
going to
stops
tell them
cringe.
why.
No, it's because they were cringe. That's it.
It's typically just they were cringe.
They
We
were
had one
cringe.
video that had more dislikes than likes.
Dude, you can
Really?
keep
I never
those.
even saw that video.
Yeah, dude, that's good interaction.
It means people hated us. I love it.
Yes. It means people watched it and watched it enough to form an opinion to dislike it.
That or maybe the audio was really shit and they just disliked the first 5 seconds.
No, it was the one where we did the Harlem Shake at the start.
Oh, okay. No, I know why
No,
people hate it.
I completely understand. I completely understand everyone who disliked it now.
Yeah.
I don't think I was even there.
It's a good thing it's gone.
Goodbye.
No, now people
think
will
about
ask
you in
where
therapy.
it is.
We'll put it
Gone
back.
forever.
What
Will
have you
they?
done?
Will
When-
they?
If we get to 500
No.
subscribers, we'll put it back.
No.
I think
If we get
I
big
think I
enough, make it
deleted
a Patreon reward. Make it a Patreon reward or something. If we get big enough, like the person who donate a certain number, it can't be the most, it can't be the least. It has to be somewhere in between. It has to be random. They'll get that video in their Patreon rewards.
This isn't a
Congratulations,
Kickstarter.
it's yours now.
Do we have a Patreon?
No.
No, of course
No,
fucking
exactly,
not.
exactly.
Do you think we would fucking
Exactly.
put one?
No,
Alright,
exactly.
okay.
We need to be
Oh
big
my
enough
God.
for it first.
I was like, wait, this is a source of income. I better start actually working on this.
Okay, moving
You
on.
mean you guys aren't trying? Come on.
Alright, moving on to the actual topic so that we don't get super sidetracked. As I said earlier, this is about gatekeeping and our thoughts on it. And I guess just as a bit of an intro, I will give a summary or an explanation of gatekeeping in case people don't know, and also so people know on what basis we're calling gatekeeping, because there's many ways to consider gatekeeping. Some people could consider even just a game being hard a form of gatekeeping, and that's kind of true. I think it does gatekeep you from the story if you're not good enough. I mean, how many people actually know what happens in Ninja Gaiden Black who haven't just watched like the cutscenes on YouTube? Not very many, I suspect.
Funny you mention. Can't wait for the first the 3 games to get remade.
Oh yeah, it's being remade.
If Ninja Gaiden Black gets remake, are they going to remake Death by Degrees?
No, God, please.
I kind of want it. I kind of want it. For just how horrible it is. Or to see if they can manage to make it as bad as before.
Don't make me gatekeep you from the Tekken community.
Okay, back on topic. Gatekeeping is the action of preventing people from entering the gate. Or the community. The gated community. That is whatever the series is. Can we agree on that, or do we want to make it more specific so people know what we're talking about here?
I mean that's a broad thing already, so it's kind of on the nose too.
But no counterpoints? I mean, we're good with that.
No, it sounds good. Like, I wrote a bit on this, and I guess I'm going to like approach it backwards instead of. I'll explain when I get to my side.
Well, I guess like if you want to differentiate the like different types of gatekeeping, I guess there's like
It's still
Uh,
gatekeeping, though.
yeah, I know that's true.
That would
It's
still be
like,
gatekeeping.
and gatekeeping is actually as much as people say they don't like gatekeeping or will never do gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is like an everyday thing. It's used in politics, in games,
Yeah,
media.
it's like sometimes you just use it in your everyday life. It's like your personal boundaries, for example.
Yeah.
That's a form of gatekeeping in some
There
way.
wouldn't be
Like you wouldn't let.
inside and outside cultures, or inside and outside subgroups if we didn't gatekeep between them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, for all the good or bad it does.
Okay, in terms of gatekeeping, I think most of us are at least positive on gatekeeping in some aspects. Maybe not all of them, but we believe that gatekeeping is needed for a community or a series, a media series, to stay relevant or good rather than relevant. It's needed to keep it good. Does everyone agree?
I'm
Yeah.
50-50 on
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, because like I've dealt with I've also been one a gatekeeper, and I've dealt with gatekeepers, and like there are like for example like for anime, let's say, like I think those people are like, you only watch Naruto. Wow, you're not a real fan. It's like I'm okay, but like he's a fan of Naruto and he can talk about Naruto. Why does he need to uh know about like all 400,000 episodes of fucking One Piece
There are
just to
people
talk
who
Yeah, you
about
can have.
gatekeep
Naruto?
Naruto. Are you sure they're not
Yeah, you
ironic
can.
weebs?
No, they're gatekeeping people who only watch Naruto.
Are they, or are they, or do they say that you can't be a Naruto fan if you're only a Naruto fan?
No, it was like
Oh,
what
you
No,
say you can't
Rio
be an
said was
anime fan if you
yes,
only watch Naruto.
yeah,
I agree with that, though. I think I don't
no,
think
but like I'm
yeah. What
I'm
on
saying
what
that
metric?
people are mad that they're I've seen people say like on conversations about Naruto. They're like, "Whoa, you're not a real Naruto fan because you only watch Naruto." That doesn't make fucking sense to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. That one. That's definitely dumb.
Yeah.
You can be a fan of
Uh,
just one thing, right?
Yeah,
yeah. That's another the mindset of like gamers and weebs, people like that.
oh,
They're like,
Like
if our
weeaboo
community,
is
our
a
anime community,
derogatory term. I prefer the term. I prefer to be called a Japanese culture enthusiast. Thank you very much.
he's
do you
Gomenasai.
even know
gatekeeping
what
me right
weeaboo
now.
means? Do you know what?
He's
Do you even know what
gatekeeping me right
weeaboo
now, man.
means?
Gomenasai.
Exactly.
No,
All
I'm
right.
asking. Do you even know what weeaboo means?
Weeaboo, the term that
Yeah,
means
you.
now, or weeaboo as it came
Yeah,
out when
define it,
that,
please.
or weeaboo when it came out from that comic. That's the funniest thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to. That's the point I'm trying to get at. But I want to hear what Joe says.
Weeaboo as the current term, or weeaboo as where it came from. Because actually, it's evolved way past that. It's sort of like saying
Yeah,
incel. Incel doesn't mean involuntary celibate at this point. I mean it does,
true.
but
It does, but there's a whole another world of baggage on top of that word now too. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, of course, it's just I'll. Weeaboo is just I deify the Japanese, even though I'm not Japanese.
Part of me wonders if it sounds like a semi-Japanese term just because of its association,
Exactly.
or it really does sound like one because vaguely
It
phonetically
does
it kind of
actually.
makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Even though
Yeah.
like it started it has nothing to do with it, but it's so weird that it kind of sounds right. So
What?
gatekeeping, Pio, you were saying.
Oh, right. What was I saying? Okay, right. Yeah. So the weebs and the gamers and all that, they have this. Well, not all of them, obviously, but like a lot of them have this mindset, right? Of like, uh, yeah, if you say you watch like a show, they like a single show, like Naruto, for example, once more, they'd be like, Naruto is anime, so you watch anime, but you only watch Naruto, but you say you watch anime. You're
What?
not an anime watcher.
What?
Yeah. See that
Get off those threads. Get off those
that's
threads.
like
You learn
I
nothing from
disagree
them.
with that. As long as it's As long as it's an anime and you're watching it, you watch anime. I mean,
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because
yes.
those guys, I super disagree with those guys that are like, uh, it's unacceptable that if you just watched a few shows, or it's unacceptable that you didn't watch this show. That's also a form of gatekeeping that I
Alright,
do not like.
look, just to clarify, you're saying it's wrong for them to say that you're not an anime fan if you've only watched Naruto, or you're saying it's wrong for them to say that you're not a Naruto fan if you've only watched Naruto?
They're saying like it's also the I'm smarter than you thought, because like I'm smarter than you, so because I watch more anime, so I know the subtext within Naruto, so you're not a true Naruto fan if you just watch Naruto. Those are actual people.
Well, they're retards.
Yeah, those people are dumb. But devil's advocate here, if you only like one part of a series, are you like a fan of it?
You're a fan of that specific part, I guess.
Yeah.
But you couldn't call yourself a fan of the whole thing, right? Like if you only liked the music in Undertale but you didn't like anything else, are you really an Undertale fan?
No, not really.
Hmm.
If you only like
Yeah,
the
not a
music
fan
in
of the game.
Homestuck, are you
Not a fan
a
of the
fan of
game.
Homes? If you're a fan of Homes, if you're a fan of Toby Fox's music, are you a fan of Homestuck and Undertale? Not necessarily, right? So
No.
No.
Yeah,
in,
there's a lot of hair splitting that needs to
yeah.
happen for that.
So
Then.
so in my devil's advocate defense of some of those people, I think if you're saying that you're not an anime fan if you only watch one anime, I can get behind that because you're a fan of one specific thing, not of anime in general. But I think it's going too far to say that if you don't have a deeper understanding of the one anime you're a fan of, that you're not really a fan of it.
Yeah, no, that's a problem.
That that's going too
dumb.
far for me.
Okay, that's dumb.
Yeah, you don't need to enjoy every bit of the anime, the hypothetical anime here. You just, like if you can just if you're even if say it's this generic harem, etchy stuff like that, and you like it because big anime titties, then you're a fan of that harem anime, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't need to go up to the look for the author's comments uh, on the author's comments, their thesis on something that the main character did and why it's so good. You can just say big anime titties. I like that shit, and you're good.
Yeah, you can just
Instantly.
like I feel that's true. My only issue would be when we're saying that it's only in the broader sense. When you get too specific like that, like for one anime
Yeah.
that you're not a fan, but when you broaden it to say that, oh, you can be a fan of movies, TV, anime, video games, when you've only experienced one thing from that genre, medium, from that medium, it's kind of like, I don't think you are.
That's stretching it.
Yeah,
Okay, but like
that's being. Go ahead.
so like
Sorry.
if you only watch the anime, are you a fan of that anime because you didn't read the manga?
No, no,
You're a fan
no.
of the
If you
anime.
Yeah.
no. What I think the wording you're using is a bit not
Yeah.
wrong. It's just a bit confusing because yes, if you like the anime, you like the anime. I think what you're saying is, do you like the material, the source material, however you wanna call it, or
Hmm.
the
Oh,
series, whatever.
in that case, then, like, if you want to make a really grounded opinion, you need to like watch everything, read
But then
everything, watch everything.
at the same time, not a lot of manga, like not a lot of animes change really really big things from the manga, so they're more or less the same.
I disagree.
Okay, which
Oh,
ones
I
Uh,
then?
also disagree with that actually.
yeah, yeah. Let's say filler episodes for one in anime. One, two. If you this I'm using Tower of God as a specific example. Director Fiat. The director Fiat has
Like
changed.
I said,
There's a
if they
certain
don't make
character.
major changes. whatever. Yeah,
No,
that's
no.
okay.
You were saying that when manga gets ported to anime, there are it's more often than not change, and I disagree. That's what I disagree with.
Yeah, I
Okay,
also disagree with that.
sure thing.
But in
We're
general,
gatekeeping him.
yeah. But in general, if there isn't a lot of change, what's the difference?
Yeah, if it's just like nearly one-to-one port,
But
then
here's my thing.
Yeah,
I
you're right. Not actually a lot of things do that because there's things like, what if the show's incomplete? Then of course
yeah,
you'd need something to pad out the
I
runtime. Yeah,
actually gonna bring that
and
up.
that
all
may
right.
have that may also have like ramifications on the say
Of the
example the
show.
anime that
It's like
doesn't
it's
show up in
something
the manga.
like Gintama, right? Like there's a lot of filler, and everyone really enjoyed the filler of Gintama. But like it's not source
Not
material
me.
stuff, so it's like new stuff.
Yeah, I think if you're getting down to it, for anime and manga, like or its source material, if it's in LN, I don't think being a fan of one necessarily makes you a fan of the other. I mean,
The other, yeah.
some people
Yeah.
just read manga and don't watch the animes. Some people just watch the animes and don't read the manga. And
I'm the
that's
former.
that's even in a
See,
hypothetical.
they're the fans of the thing. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, I liked it.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I think we're going. I think all of us are in agreement that you can be a fan of
Okay.
one aspect of something, but that doesn't translate to you being the fan of everything.
The entire thing, yeah.
Okay, but in relation to gatekeeping, is it correct for us to make that distinction and say that you aren't really a fan of the whole thing? And I have to say, yes, because you can just like one thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to me, you shouldn't say that you're a fan of like the series if you only like one thing.
Right. So like,
Wait,
I
what one
think
thing?
I think I think it actually depends on how big that one thing is. Because like
Yeah.
I'm a Warhammer guy, right? And the Warhammer 40k universe is one of the biggest universes I know, and it's kind of okay if you like just like the Space Marines, I think. Because the Space
There's a
Marines
lot of
have
dumb
their own
shit
there's a
in it.
lot of stuff going there. But like, it's
Yeah, it
almost
depends on the.
impossible. Well, okay, I wouldn't say almost impossible, but it's like it's a
You know,
hard thing to know everything about Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, it's like the example I was going to use is Lord of the Rings. Like, I'd say you're a fan, even if you just watch the movies. I'd say you're a fan because
it
there's a
translates it
lot
well.
more.
There is a
Okay.
lot more.
Translates it well. You're gonna make
Hmm.
Christopher Tolkien spin in his grave. I know he's not
Yeah,
dead.
yeah.
No. Well, yeah, I know about him. Like not liking the
Honestly,
movies.
I need to read a bit more to really make my own opinion. But the
And
opinions I've heard is like the movies aren't exactly the best translation, but I'd say it works
because the books are
considering
super
how much.
dry, and
Yes,
also
yes,
the estate shouldn't talk when the estate allowed the Shadows of Mordor game to exist.
yes.
I'm sorry,
I've not
but
heard of that,
what?
but yeah.
But
They
like
are
what?
complacent in the
I'm not
sin.
even I'm not even saying the games are bad. I'm just saying you didn't like the movies, but someone came to you with this game and you said yes. Did they lie to you? Where's the angry interview about them lying to you? Because you haven't made one. It's just yeah. That's just that too was an attempt at gatekeeping by them, a
Yep.
hypocritical one.
I don't know, man. Like, I would say I'm a Star Wars fan, but I hate all of the fucking sequel movies.
Yeah, honestly, in groups of three, so you can just be like a fan of one group of three, and I say you're Gucci. Like, I would judge you for the sequels, but I guess it's good enough because they officialized everything.
You
It
know,
gets really,
you,
it's really weird.
yeah, you guys
Yeah.
like bring up a good point. I think it really does depend how large the entire thing is, and
Mm.
how and how large the section of it you like is. Because like if it's super specific, I don't think I mean we can try to come up with like a measured this is the limit for which you are gate kept from calling yourself a fan. And maybe we can do that later, but I'm not sure if we could succeed in that. But I think there is a certain limit, right, where you've consumed enough that you don't have to consume the rest to consider yourself a fan. I mean, I don't
You
think.
like it.
Yeah,
If you like it.
if you like it, because you can be a hater, and the funny thing is,
It's
you
also
can't
true.
you can't be gatekept from being a hater. Because if you tell a hater you haven't
Interesting.
read the rest, the hater just has to suddenly say that they hate everything, and it's like, you're gonna change their
They could
mind?
have been. You can insert that picture of Dio going all like, "I've seen enough. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied enough to hate it."
Yeah,
Honestly,
Exactly.
because like if you've gone that far enough, I'd say you're justified. You don't like that one part, and it's the dislike is enough for you to turn away from the say franchise.
So you could call me a sequel trilogy hater, but a Star Wars fan though.
yeah.
Uh,
I think that
Yeah.
you're allowed to
Yeah.
dislike parts of a series that you like. I meant, no one's
Yeah,
saying that you can't.
exactly.
I think to be a true hater of something, you have to hate the entire thing, or like you have to hate like 90% of
Yeah,
it.
like
Gatekeeping
the Lord.
haters, nice.
My favorite like trilogy of movies of all time is the Lord of the Rings, and like the thing I hate about the books, and I understand why it's written like that, but it's a lot of times, and this is a thing for everyone else. It's over. It over explains everything, and I get that. And but to a lot of people, it's really boring. Also, you don't actually see Boromir die in the books. Aragorn just finds him there, dying, which is like a one thing I like the movies more than the books. And that's also
You're not a
that's a
true Lord of
gate
the Rings
versus a
fan
gate,
then.
right? What?
You're not a true Lord of the Rings fan then.
Yeah, right. That's like a gate versus a gate,
Hate
or like
wars.
I don't know. I have examples, but I got examples for later.
Man,
Alright,
for me, what's more important? It's like, yeah, you can say you're a fan. I don't really give a shit. It's only when you're like, I'm a fan, but they should change this.
Oh
Like,
my
I'm like,
god, I have so much to
that's
fucking.
that's when I draw the fucking line.
alright, we'll get there. We'll get there later, because
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
heated topic. But I was actually, but
Yes.
semi-related. Do you have to like the original thing? Like, for a large franchise, do you have to
Ooh.
like the original thing for you to be a fan of the thing? Like, part of me thinks maybe if the original thing was the biggest or the longest, but what if it wasn't? Like, how, are you a fan of Persona if you've never played 1 and 2? At what point are you a
Shit.
fan of a Persona game instead of being a fan of Persona, the series?
Interesting. That's a good.
When do you transition from a fan of an
Yeah, because
entry into a fan of the whole thing?
When you played
think you
enough,
have
I
to.
guess it's like
Oh my
I
goodness.
think you have to acknowledge
the
the
existence
existence of
of like,
the original, right? Because
or the rest of the series.
yeah,
From my point of view, it's more like if you've already like played two different one parts of it or something, when you can
As
start
long as you don't
comparing
hate
them
it,
the same.
you can consider yourself a fan. That, in my opinion, I guess.
Sorry,
Oh,
you're saying
that gets
if you
that.
don't hate the other, if you played one part and don't hate the rest, you can consider yourself a fan of all of them.
I guess.
I wouldn't say that.
I
If
mean,
you
not
played
like
one
not
part and
obviously not the not the games you specifically not played. Because, dude, it
yeah,
like Persona is not a good example because 1 and 2 is really, really, really different from 3, 4, and 5. So
yeah, like my point of view is that if you've played enough, if you played like say if we're going to use the Persona example, you've played 3 and 4. I'd say it's good enough to make you a Persona fan in general because you can start comparing 3 and 4. And if you have enough, also if you have a little surface knowledge about 1 and 2, it's like, oh, these games are completely different. If I try to compare 1 to say 4, it's like I have an apple and an orange. They're fruits, but
Okay,
they're different. Things like that.
how about theoretically Pokemon? If you've only played one Pokemon entry, and I'm sure actually there's probably a lot of people that do. We
the
actually know.
gameplay's all the same, so it doesn't make a difference.
yeah. I was
You
going
play
to say
one
the same.
Pokemon, you play them all.
Actually,
Okay, but the Pokemon are different, and sometimes there are changes. Actually, in our age group, if the ones we played as kids is probably different enough, because don't forget they did a special. There is a split of
The
special.
only game that I can think of that would be different is the spin-off shit, like Pokemon Snap and Pokken Tournament. That's the only thing that you can use. You can at me to differentiate it from the rest of the Pokemon stuff. Like as long as
Honestly,
the
it was
core
actually
gameplay is
Guys,
way
this
different.
alligator shooting bubbles is different from this turtle shooting bubbles, okay?
Damn, you got me there.
honestly XD Coliseum are different too because they take
Exactly.
it's still around the same game, but they approach it in a different method. There's a Ranger. There's Mystery
Yeah, like
Dungeon.
the spin-off games. Well, I
But,
guess
but then,
I
like,
wouldn't
then
say
that's
Gale of
just the
Darkness is a
Pokemon universe, right? You can be like, you can not be a fan of the games, but you can be a fan of the Pokemon novels,
yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah, that's
true.
true.
the
Yeah,
Pokemon manga, right?
because
Oh hell yeah.
Hmm.
oh yeah, no, no.
Shame about what happened with that, but
But
hell yeah.
what I mean is, in like the games
Well, okay,
themselves, like pretending there wasn't that the rest of it didn't exist or that you were unaware of it. Are you a fan of Pokemon games, having only played one? I bet you do make a good point that the gameplay of the mainline series is mostly the same.
Yes.
So
Yep.
is playing one enough to make you a fan of all of them, or are you a fan of the one game that you like?
That's also, I guess that would be that's a good point. If you played one, it's not a good representation of the rest of the games. But if the gameplay is pretty much the same, like I can play one Madden game, and if I like Madden, that Madden year, I'll be like, oh yeah, I like Madden games.
That's a bit of an extreme example in my opinion, even compared to Pokemon. At least they try to change things up in Pokemon. With
A
Madden, it's
bit,
like you're just
yeah.
getting new players. Yeah.
Okay,
So
I'll
Pokemon
say
like
that's the
Madden is
extreme.
like
Yeah,
all the way. Yep, it's all the way in the other end of the scale. Pokemon's like a little more to the
almost
side,
there.
closer to the center. Yeah.
That's what I think.
What would be on the other end of that scale? WarioWare?
Oh my
Probably.
god.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
certain
Yeah.
mini game from
Yeah.
WarioWare, so I don't like
WarioWare.
WarioWare.
What's the worst minigame in WarioWare? Or you know
Oh
what the worst
no.
is? It's the egg. It's the egg, because you can do the egg by just not touching it, and that's it. I maxed it out once. I was like, I'm a come back after lunch.
I
Funny
blacked
that the
out on
worst Wario
WarioWare
game
there.
is the platformer.
What? The platformer was cool too. I used to watch my little brother play it on the side.
But you didn't play it.
Touche.
WarioWare?
I
Yeah.
really don't recall. I might have. I might not have gotten very far. I'm not the
Well,
platforming
there's a
wizard
reason
like
Mario
my
is the
little
one who
brother
does
is.
the platforming.
That's true. There's a reason Wario only shows up in the tennis games and cart now.
Well, I'm more bound to. I'm more
Hmm.
inclined to agree with like Lance's interpretation. Like, as long as you played more than one thing or consumed more than one part of the series or whatever you're into, I think you
Comparison.
can consider yourself a fan as a whole rather than of the specific part.
Yeah, and can make an educated comparison. That's an important thing. Like I think in that case, then if you can dig enough into the details, I'd say that if you if you play two Pokemon games from different eras or something, and then you are
And
able
as
to
long
make
as you
like
don't
point.
hate it in the end, I think you
Yeah,
could call yourself
Yeah.
a fan. If we
yeah,
were
if
to
you enjoyed
really
it.
break it down.
It's
Hmm?
interesting. Cause so like, what if like someone watched Naruto but not Shippuden?
Okay, he
Oh,
saved himself a lot of time, but I don't.
Well, okay, like they really liked Naruto before Shippuden.
But then they don't
That's your
like it
premise, right?
anymore, so they wouldn't be called a
oh,
fan.
wait,
Yeah,
wait, wait.
I kind of have to agree with Joe here. Okay, one, and I know we're getting to the source material, but it's not like the name changed in the manga. Two, Shippuden has like so many more episodes than the first half. That it's not even fair to call it the first half. Like I'm pretty sure the war arc alone had more. I mean, the war arc alone was the longest arc in the manga too, but that alone is more than all the everything that happened pre Shippuden. So it kind of
Yeah.
makes sense, right? That maybe you aren't a fan anymore. You could then you would say I'm a fan of the early parts, because there's some
Yeah,
people,
that
and
sounds
admittedly
like
mostly
about
haters,
the
who
right.
are like, only the first 2 arcs were any good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they
It's just
enjoyed it,
it's
but
like
not
the
the thing
point
as
is
a whole. So
yeah,
they're
the
not
point is I
fans.
think it's that Shippuden is paradigmally, I'm not sure if I'm saying that word right. It's got a different paradigm from original Naruto because original Naruto was it's very grounded. Like
Okay, let's
even if
not
you're
argue about Naruto now.
yeah, but I'd say it's more grounded than Shippuden, where the ninjas stop being they stop showing off regular air
Ninja,
quote
yeah.
ninja stuff and start turning into Super Saiyans in
No, that's true. I agree with that, though.
into heavy military stuff basically.
Wizards and chakra robots.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, wizards and,
Guys,
and chakra robots.
guys, it's
Yeah,
not an
that's where
actual robot. I'm using sand.
Oh,
Of
I'm
course you
sorry.
are,
Of
buddy.
course you are. And that other
We're
robot's made of
gatekeeping
wood.
you from the ninja community. You're not a real ninja.
You don't have a robot. No, you're a low-level ninja. Low-level ninjas don't get robots. They get
Yeah, they have
techniques.
to walk the dog. No, they have to walk the dog.
Those poor regular
Also,
ninjas who will never know what it's like to wield the power of a god. All right,
yeah.
trying to shift this back into gatekeeping because we see it seems to be off topic and we're just talking about what makes you a fan, but that kind of relates to
Yeah, that does.
because you do gatekeep people away from being allowed to be called a fan. Because and the reason I bring this up now is because it's interesting that he says when you have another game to compare like reference to, like in a series of games or maybe even a series of books, movies, etc., is that I believe fans have the right to let their opinion be heard by the creators. I'm not saying that the creators are beholden to listen to the fans, because sometimes the fans
Yeah.
don't know what they want, or they
Yeah,
think
they're
they
full of
do.
shit.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah,
It
Oh God.
happens.
I think it's happening right now in Magic the Gathering because there's a lot of outspoken there are a lot of outspoken posters on say the Magic Reddit. I mean, it's not exactly the best place for it for discussion for reasons I don't want to get into here, but there's a lot of people mad about the new push that Wizards is trying to do. There are a lot of people there that are mad about that. It's called Universes Beyond. It's basically that they're allowing crossovers in the game. I'd say I disagree on one specific part of the on one specific thing that Wizards is doing there, but I'm otherwise for Universes Beyond because it'll bring more people in. Like like it or not, a community needs new people for it to grow. And what's the
Oh,
best way
that's
to do it? It's
Tune in next time to our next podcast about Universes Beyond to figure out what exactly me and Lance mean.
yeah,
that's
I'll talk about
another
it.
Yeah, that's another
conver-
thing. Reason why
yeah,
people gatekeep.
Yeah,
conversation about the
I don't
gatekeeping
know.
is like the new
You
people
need yeah,
thing.
you need new people.
No, you don't.
Yeah, wait. Sorry.
Yes, you do.
Going back to my first point first, before we get to this. I think one of the reasons why I agree with the whole you have to play at least more than one entry in a series.
Call yourself a fan.
Yeah, and this is also ignoring maybe if a series only has two entries so far or something like that. But because if you only have one frame of reference for whatever series or piece of media you're consuming is, you may like that part, and then you're therefore a fan of that part in particular. But it may not be conducive to the experience of the rest of the series. And so going back to fans can voice their opinions and ask the creators and give feedback. Because I think it's fine for I don't think creators should always listen to their fans, but I think you should be able to read the room of what you're doing. There's a difference between keeping your fans on the toes and going for what you want and then just doing stuff that everyone can see is clearly not working. Right?
Yeah.
You mean like Blizzard and what they're doing?
What I was think no,
Yes.
what I was thinking was if a guy says he likes Tiberian Wars but only played 4,
Oh my god. Who is this? Who is this?
All right. See,
I'll punch this guy.
so stuff like that is what I mean. if you've only got that one frame of reference, you can't really speak to the series fully because you might not know what makes the entire series uh, good or
Way it is.
what the soul of the series is. I mean, even like some of the worst reviewed properties have at least some people who like them on like some level. I mean, except for the absolute bottom of the barrel horse crap that's
Yeah.
of stuff. Like, look at Rotten Tomatoes. People are always amazed when there's like the below 5% fresh or whatever, which means like basically no one would even give it a 6, right? But most movies are gonna have at least some percentage, maybe mid to low teens and the 20s, right? Like most things, especially if something's big, if it's a big property, they'll hit somewhere there. So there's always someone who's gonna like that one thing. But here's the thing: I think that if you happen to like the worst entry in the series, and it's also the only one that you've played, I think you do have to be gate kept from spreading your love for that part. And like, I don't know that, but it's like, I'm sorry that you happen to like it, but like, we the fans who have followed this whatever for the longer time, or hey, maybe you like the first one and the first one actually turned out to be the worst and everyone was so surprised that the second and third onward were really good. Like, maybe you just
No.
kind of, it evolved, and we can't have you making it devolve. Get what I mean? That's why I think
Yeah.
you need to have try at least two, so that you can, even within yourself, you have a point of comparison for what else the series is capable of before
That's
you
also that is
before we spread it
also like
around.
a type of
Yeah, I agree.
gatekeeping that I also participate in. It's like, yeah, going back to the whole Tiberium Wars thing. I mean the Warhammer thing. There are people. Yeah, sure. The lore is vast. I understand that, but when these like new people are coming in and they're like, we need to change the lore. Get the hell out. That's like
Thing. If their opinions are not based enough in the lore, in what they've read, then I would shut them out.
Yeah, that's the
If they
essence
have
of
read,
gatekeeping.
yeah,
At
but if
least
they
that's what
have,
I believe it is.
just
if
like
they have read and made reasoned
inevitably
arguments on it,
inevitably we're gonna have to start talking a little bit about identity politics here.
Just bring it up later, but
Okay.
keep going.
Because because it's like related to the Warhammer thing and why I am gatekeeping also the Warhammer. Like I buy the books. I don't play the game, but I buy the books. Well, I play
you
the video
don't.
games.
He plays a
You
video
know
game.
how
Oh, you
you know
don't.
how
No, yeah,
expensive
no. You're talking
Tabletop.
about the
you know how
tabletop game. You're talking about
expensive
the
Yeah.
that is.
tabletop game. Pio, I know you're
Yeah.
talking about the tabletop game, man. So yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I get you. I get you. My bad.
Okay. Saying that, I can be gatekept, I guess, because I don't know how to play the tabletop. But at the same time, like,
I'm on your side.
yeah, no, it's fine. I'm on your side because there is a, oh God, I want to say movement, but it's not that big of wanting to change the lore to include for like inclusion or whatever, but it doesn't make sense in lore. But they're like, oh, it doesn't matter because it's fictional. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that
Things have to
excuse that,
be.
oh, it's
Things
fictional, so
have
you
to
can change
be.
whatever you want.
No, things have to be logically
It's like
consistent. I
once it's
think.
said, it's like it's as real. It's like reality. It's like if it's established.
I think that's that
Well, that
sucks
that
about.
depends really.
Wait, what?
That depends really, because the logic internal to a story can be different from the logic in our current world. So
No, he
No,
means
the
that
reality for the
for the
reality for the
okay, yeah,
universe.
story
yeah,
in
that,
the
yep,
universe, and you shouldn't be changing it willy nilly.
yep, that
But that,
cheapens it somewhat.
but that's
Oh, and that
Exactly.
makes me. Sorry, go ahead,
okay.
bro.
But that's a
That's what
hard
makes
thing for Warhammer fans in general because a lot of the new authors don't know the lore.
Ooh, okay, that's
that's a
a
problem.
company problem.
It's a
That's a
problem.
company
Like,
problem.
what's funny is that there are books that that references books that differentiate from the lore, and in the books they're like, oh yeah, that wasn't canon.
Yeah,
Or oh,
what?
that guy's just crazy.
Hmm.
Who
No,
says
because
who?
it's no,
Well,
because
that
there are authors fighting each other, which is like a really funny thing about the Warhammer Black Library thing.
bro, wait, that was pre 2000. That was pre mid 2000s. Star Wars EU,
Pretty much.
where authors would just would
Fight
just
with
take
each
Write
other.
each
massive
using the
dumps
books.
on each other, and like
Yeah.
where the competency of any group of individuals, with the exception of the OG cast, who, and this is kind of
Our
a my
gods.
this yeah, that was my minor complaint. They're basically perfect gods most of the time. An entire moon had to fall on Chewbacca for him to die. It took Chewbacca is moon level, but like any other group of individuals is only as competent as the writer that likes them. Like
Yeah, that happens.
like the Mandalorians are either complete jobbers meant to show off whoever this special OC is, or like this other faction that's cool,
Complete badasses.
or complete badasses that are Jedi level with nothing but their grit and enhanced tactics and weaponry. And it's like, and they fluctuate so massively. It's like, what the hell is going on? You guys are the same guys that did that took down this army, and yet you can't take down this ragtag bunch.
I say
What
that's
the
more a symptom of the companies that
writing.
run those
It's bad writing.
the lore, and
That was Lucas
I don't
not
know. I
caring
wouldn't
enough.
say, yeah, I wouldn't say it's bad writing. It's more like there's no one keeping an eye on everything, keeping a bird's eye
Bad
of,
oversight there.
yeah,
Bad
oversight. Yeah,
oversight.
that's the word. Bad oversight over the lore in general. I think that's like a major problem in most lore divisions of.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sup. All right. So lore. I was going to say that I think that's why you need someone in charge of keeping lore eternally consistent, because I feel
Yep.
that lore, even though the lore is kind of a thing that only the fans deep into it will really care. I kind of disagree with that sentiment. Even casual fans will love lore to some extent.
Yep.
But I feel that lore is really the soul of a lot of works, because that's what
Mhm.
keeps the fans who have been there forever there. Uh, and I think so. It's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, it gives you something to project yourself onto, to like, and but it's a very intangible thing to many to businesses. That's why most lores are mismanaged, to say at best.
comics.
I was
Oh
actually
yeah.
going to
Well,
say, what do the editors even do in a lot of comics? It seems like there's so much that they just don't remember.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know if that's still a thing in DC, but there used to be an oversight guy that just collect reads everything that
the biggest
authors give
fan.
them. Reads
He has to
everything
be
that
the biggest
authors
fan.
give them, and he has to like read it and be like, "Now you got to change this because it's not part of lore." Like I know DC used to have that, and Marvel did not. That's why Marvel is way more into the alternate universe stuff.
So as to keep
Marvel
everything
has a
consistent.
continuity guy. Remember, like those little inserts at the comics
Yeah.
where it's like
There'd be these
read.
little windows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
These
what that guy does. I meant
little panels.
they're clearly terrible at their job for most companies, but you know that's why that's what those boxes really mean. That there is a guy, but in
Although, to
comics,
be fair to them, those universes in some ways started separate. And they had to eventually stitch them all together because crossovers happened.
yeah, like the timelines of when everything matches up, even though it's vaguely in the late 60s originally is where like a lot of the hero origins tend to collate. For Marvel, for DC, it's earlier, depending once again on which heroes you mean specifically. But yeah, they tend to collate at those times. But it's not like they had a plan that large scale in their minds at the start. No one thought.
Yeah. At
No,
first, it was just
yeah, no one thought of all this shit at the beginning.
Yeah, that's
yeah, and
true.
thus the need for reboots happen as well.
That's
Although
yeah,
I think Crisis on Infinite Earths was a good way to handle it. Although disclaimer, this is from me. This is like a third point of view, a third person point of view type of deal. I haven't actually read Crisis on Infinite Earth. Like they made
Funny
a
enough,
whole
the
event
fact
out
that
of
you
it.
know
So
what the lore is the rough lore
yeah.
of it is probably says a
yeah,
lot.
what the event did.
Hey, that's also another conversation about gatekeeping. It's like, I didn't read, but I read the wiki.
Hmm.
that the issue is depends on who wrote that. Who wrote that? The parts of the wiki that you read. Like if they keep everything as academic as Wikipedia in some way, then it's good. Well,
Yeah.
academic air quotes. Depends on what parts there are. Like some parts aren't being watched.
And
so
I
to
guess
speak.
don't pretend to be an expert. I'm not really. You
Yes.
can't get a degree from Wikipedia. You can get a cursory
Yeah.
knowledge of something at best. So
Mhm.
I guess you could
It's
say
an encyclopedia.
I'd say if you read the wiki, you can consider yourself
Knowledgeable.
a surface level
somewhat.
fan, a surface
Yeah.
level fan.
Yes.
Yeah, surface level.
But I wouldn't
Oh
call
no,
you
you
can't
know
call
what we
yourself a
call them,
super
right?
fan.
No, you got to bring out the N word.
Oh, normies. Yeah, normies. Uh,
I could. Would you
really?
call
Would
a
you call them a
normie
normie?
fan? Yeah.
I would call them
No,
a
yeah.
not a casual, normie, not
Ah.
casual.
I
No,
need to
because
find.
like
I'll
there
look up
should
the
be
distinction.
a
We need to put this
difference
on a
between
scale.
normie and casual, right? Because like,
I think okay. I've got one by
because
the way. I think normie means that you're into only the really popular stuff. So you can only be a normie for a series that's popular. If a series isn't popular, then you can't be a normie for it because even knowing about it makes you
Oh.
above normie.
Okay,
but
so
you,
what I've been,
yeah.
I found something over here. Yeah, normies and casuals are individuals characterized by a mix of a mixed lack of expertise of a subculture. Although enthusiasm changes a normie into a casual, commitment to the subculture alone is insufficient enough to make them into ironists or autists. Wow, thanks, thanks definition.
Send
All
send
right,
it
To
send
avoid
it in
more
send in
practical knowledge.
I believe that, and
link it to us, please.
I think that was what I was going to say. Normie is just kind of knowing about it because it's popular. Casual, you have, as the name implies, a casual liking for the thing. So you casually like it, but you're not deep into it. And I think reading the wiki, you can consider yourself a casual because normies don't read, and we can all agree on that.
Amen.
yeah,
Amen.
yeah.
Well, okay, yes. I was gonna say that in the paradigms that I'm a more of a fan of, everyone doesn't read.
Oh, you meant no one's read the original Fate VN?
No, you
Oh.
guys have read it or something. Yeah, you guys have. I actually haven't.
Are you for real, dude? No
Yes,
way.
I actually. Oh well, okay, wait. I've read
No fucking
summaries
way.
online. I've
Look
read
at this
summaries of
man's
parts of
tiny
it online.
avatar. Look at this man's tiny avatar. Look at
He
it.
has nothing to do with
Oh
the
my
original Fate
god.
VN. She
Oh
has nothing
my
to do with
god.
the
We gotta
original.
correct that.
I
We
actually
must.
earlier I was going to talk about how I guess you can be a fan of the Fate franchise if you've only played FGO, and that's probably going to be super triggering if anyone actually listens this deep into our podcast. That's probably going to be super triggering to some people.
Actually,
But
Got triggered.
at this point,
on my end,
because of how large FGO is, I think you have to acknowledge that yes, FGO is Fate now.
I consider you a normie.
okay. Here's the FGO is already Fate at this point. A lot
No,
of
yeah.
the a lot of the current properties are pointing back towards FGO.
Oh no.
Well, except for what was that again? In my defense in the original, I haven't read the original, but I've read like a lot of the other stuff. I read. I'm following Apocrypha, Prisma Ilia, the manga, please, and
You said the A word. Oh Lord. Oh no, wait,
what?
no. It's better to read than to watch.
Yes,
Oh God, Apocrypha.
Red Line. There, that's the one. It's not
Mm,
Apocrypha that I'm talking about. It's not Prototype either. Is it
is
Apocrypha?
it manga
Shit.
only?
Right. Here are the fate mangas that I'm currently following. I'm following CCC Foxtail, Prisma Ilia, Strange Fake, and Redline. Strange
All
Fake
right,
is the
that's
one
cool.
I'm hyped for. I'm hyped for the most because there's
Yeah.
doing so many weird things with the Holy Grail War setup.
Either
Anyway,
way, this
so
is
yeah, like
what I
I'm
was
not
gonna bring up.
exactly.
That was what I was gonna bring up. That you can be. You don't. I don't think you have to be a fan of the original thing to be considered
Yeah.
a fan of the
Yeah,
series.
but I'd say you need to be at least a casual at the original,
Yeah,
in my
there we
opinion.
go.
Yeah,
A casual
Yeah, you need
and
appreciation
to
of
I'm
it.
very much.
acknowledge the original. We've gone through that a few.
But yeah, this is like I'm doing a practical demonstration of it already.
We haven't got to it back because what we did, what we said earlier was we think that you have to like whatever the largest thing is, or at least casual understanding of that. Because if you're complete, because the beginning part may no longer be representative of what the series is, especially if it was like really short. Like one of the first entries, kind of garbage, and then everything else was
That's true.
surprising. Like the Dark Tower series, if anyone knows Stephen King's Dark Tower series, the first book is
I
kind of
have
like,
read book 4.
yeah, the first book is like the worst, and it doesn't read like the rest. I don't want to get too into it, but people will get that. Our hypothetical viewers, they don't exist. Okay,
They will
they
eventually
will eventually
exist.
exist. Okay, so back to gatekeeping. We said that continuity was important, that it should be respected. And one of the things that we're saying is when you gatekeep people, we're saying that just liking one thing does not make you a fan, so that you shouldn't, your opinion is not as valid as people who have actually gone through the whole thing. I think we agree.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so that's our case for acceptable gatekeeping. But in general, what this podcast was really about from the start was we were going to say gatekeeping good. And now I'd like to hear, guys, why do you think gatekeeping good? Because we already established that there was gatekeeping that was bad, and then we've talked about that gatekeeping was good. So why, in general, do we think it's more often good than bad?
I'm gonna speak from what I've seen in with Magic the Gathering. The two things that I've seen that where gatekeeping may be good, like one of them's a 50-50. The first one is Chronicles, actually. But that was I have to set the scene for this because this was when Magic the Gathering was fairly young. It got popular. Then what Wizards decided to do is that oh, it's really popular. Let's try to cash in on that. So they made their first reprint set. It's called Chronicles. What ended up happening is that it cratered a lot of card prices. So they tried to appeal to too many people at once, but since Magic had a fairly niche at that time, even though it was popular, it cratered a lot of prices, as I mentioned, which made the people who were established in there very mad. My cards are now dirt cheap, so to speak. So they ended up Wizards to be exact ended up having to gatekeep their own cards in some way by making the reserved list, which is these certain cards you can't reprint them anymore. They can't reprint them anymore as a promise so that their clientele, the people who have invested in the game, have some still keep get to keep some of their money because eventually, since the game was about getting random cards, and there are certain cards that are better than others. And even in the first sets there have been chase cards or cards that, oh, I only want people to have one copy of these in their decks more often than not. But what they didn't expect is that people to go up and start looking for others and say, oh, I'm going to buy that card off of you, and eventually they'll end up with four copies. And steamroll others. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But I think that was a time where gatekeeping is good because it helped Magic Gather. It got Magic Gathering out of the bind there. But I would also like to say right now that I'm against the reserve list at the moment, as it is at the moment, because that's no longer what's happening now. Magic is no longer a small game. You should have heard their investor call. Magic the Gathering basically carried Hasbro this year. And it's so much that they're their own operating division now in Hasbro. And that they're doing all these new things, like as I mentioned, Universe Beyond. I'll talk about it more next
Yeah,
time.
with a
I'll talk
lack
about it
of
more in the
yeah,
next
and
podcast.
I
Yeah.
have to agree. There was gatekeeping then, though I'm not sure if the reserve list is technically a form of gatekeeping. I mean, it's well
It's
monetary
more
gatekeeping,
appeasing.
Monetary.
but it didn't necessarily prevent. Well, no, I guess anything that makes it harder to get into the series. But at that point, you could just say a series.
Gatekeeping.
But I think that's too broad because if you say it's anything that makes it harder to
Fair
get
enough.
into a series, then you're like, oh,
Yeah, well,
by the way,
it's Wizards that's
no, but like a series
gatekeeping.
getting long is also a form of gatekeeping. Then, oh, because it's so long, I can't get into it, right? That's a thing. So
One
Yeah.
Piece.
True.
yeah, is One Piece
One Piece.
gatekeeping by is One Piece gatekeeping people by
Gatekeeping.
still being ongoing? Is Detective
Probably.
No,
Conan
it's
gatekeeping
part of
people
the
by
fun.
keep going?
It's part of
No,
the fun, in my
well,
opinion, because
I
there's
say no because like it's anyone's choice to just jump in
Yeah.
and watch
Yeah.
One Piece.
yeah, you
Yeah.
have to spend the time
No
for it.
one's being like, nah, you can't watch One Piece.
Yeah. So a time investment, we don't consider
Okay.
time investments to be gatekeeping.
No,
I
because if
don't
you
think so,
if
but
you enjoy
I'd like
the
to say
product,
that
you'd make the time.
I'd like to say that One Piece anime apparently is really slow. From what
Oh
I've been
no, the One
seeing.
Piece anime is complete garbage. Episodes are often like removing the stuff that's unimportant, like retreads and reaction shots. I'd say that the episodes are like actually only about 16 minutes long, and they go at the pace of one chapter per episode. It's
Yeah, they
hot garbage.
stretch it out,
It's hot garbage.
which is why I think the manga is still better. And the manga also lets you the part of the fun of One Piece is that it being long means that the author Oda can sneak in a bunch of details here or there that you might have missed. So you have to go jump back like 500 chapters, for example, and you figured out, oh, so and so is actually part of the secret organization or something like that. And that's really, I think that's really neat. Like eventually, like in some way, it's a bit of overload. But when you have the time to think about it clearly, you go like, "Oh, I missed this. Dang, that's cool," and it just makes the story more fun.
Is that again? That's I don't
It's not
think
gatekeeping,
that
in my
yeah,
opinion.
that's not gatekeeping too,
Yeah.
right? That's just
Yeah,
no
it's
one's
an
stopping.
experience.
Yeah, no one's
So-
stopping anyone from experiencing.
So
that,
is gatekeeping something that only fans can do against each other, or can a company gatekeep people? I mean, because the
Companies
reserve.
can gatekeep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because I was gonna say,
definitely.
is the reserve list that Lance is talking about, the we're not gonna reprint these cards, is that the company gatekeeping people? It's just more expensive, and I'm at so
Well,
is
okay.
a price point gatekeeping is what I'm saying.
Blizzard gatekeep the Warcraft community from Warcraft 3.
But companies don't usually gatekeep, do they? I mean, is difficulty
It's not.
gatekeeping?
Yeah. Gatekeeping
Okay,
is
well,
more
okay.
something individual
So,
people do. It's more something individual
yeah,
people
so
do.
like a spokesman for a company, right? Uh,
Oh god.
yeah. So let's say that spokesman is like on Twitter or something, right? The usual suspect would be like, "Hey, why did
Don't consume our product if you think this way.
basically
So
yeah.
yeah, that's gatekeeping.
Yeah, and I guess fans can do it
Hmm.
too, because they can also say you shouldn't enter the series with etc. etc. But back to
Yeah.
gatekeeping being good.
Yeah,
Gatekeeping
because-
good because you kind of don't want some people in your thing. It's
In
not
your
even
community.
in your community. And I
Yeah,
think
well, because
I think beyond
no
any
matter what,
I think beyond any personal politics that that person may have, as we said, which is why we talked about being a fan of the thing for so long. If you're not a fan, I don't think you should engage in the series as if you are a fan, right? No,
Yeah.
nobody really wants
Oh
the
yeah,
opinion.
hell no.
Yeah, nobody wants the. I already called them casuals, but nobody wants someone who's only read the wiki, especially like if it's in something interactive like a video game, uh, or something like really
Exactly.
or like something that's really sprawling, like even the wiki entries for like let's say.
Honestly, wait. I'd like to clarify that in that no detailed responses unless they've really played it or something.
Mhm.
Something like this happened in the wiki says this happened in the game, and you're like, oh, that's pretty neat. I think I like that, and you can talk about that and say, and maybe the
Yeah,
fans
yeah,
of the
yeah.
deeper entries are all like,
We're talking about like
yeah.
as a discussion of like of giving feedback back to the developers or of trying to build the community in and of itself.
Or make changes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's what I
changes
meant.
part is an
Like
issue.
changes within
Yeah.
or like the nature of the community. Like if you're not a fan, you shouldn't be.
You have no. You.
You
Yeah.
should be part of
There's
it,
no
which is why we were
point.
talking about what makes you a fan. And like we're not even very
Yeah.
gatekeepy about what makes you a fan. You don't have to play everything. You don't even have to you don't have to have consumed every part. You don't have to have liked every part. But there's some limit to what you kind of have to have partaken in, and we hope that earlier part clarified that, uh, even vaguely, that what's being asked of you before you should participate, right? Uh, no one wants someone to comment on a 10-part book series if they've only read a random book. Like they can say that within
Or
the
none
book
of it.
itself, that's fine, right? Especially if it's none of it. Like if you read part 8 of a 10-part series, you can comment on part 8. You can't comment on the other 9 parts. And if you just read the wiki on all of them, you're missing a vital part of it. So you also shouldn't say that this is what should happen in number 11,
Like
right?
I think the thing that Pio and Joe are trying to get at is actually say someone read the wiki. They saw this one scene that they do not like, and then they go onto Twitter and then send a tweet at the developer or the writer saying, "I don't like this. How dare you? This is horrible." Something like that. And yet they've only read that little section in the wiki, and for
Yeah.
some reason
Or
that got them invested enough to do that.
yeah, or not even just the wiki. Like if it's the only part of it that they've experienced, uh, like obviously it's the worst when like you're totally not a fan and then you're trying to comment within the thing, right? I think we're all in 100% agreement. If you're not a
Oh
fan
hell yeah!
at all, it's like why are you here?
Yeah. Why are you here?
Like
Yeah, that's true.
Trying to get attention, maybe.
it's
Pretty
like
sure it happens.
that one meme
Thing you like is problematic and it needs to change.
yeah,
What do you mean I should like it?
or that one meme picture that I remembered. It's like I went into this discussion about things that I don't like, and now I'm angry about it. How could I ever have seen this coming?
Wow. Yeah. Like you have no business. Be
Rage.
gone.
Yeah,
You must
Trying to get
leave.
attention. That's the business they're trying to do, apparently.
and in a way, you should gatekeep those people for that reason.
Exactly,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Normally, people talk about in games and video games, but it can even happen in series. It's like people who haven't really experienced it or only know a small part of it, but then they want to make changes so that they can try to get in. Like, listen, I kind of get wanting to get into a series, and you're finding it impenetrable. Uh, but at
Tough titty.
yeah, uh, sometimes there has to be a commitment, and if you're not willing, is it really the fault of people? It's like, yeah, no, you can't get in. It's like
That's
say
your problem.
because at this point you might as well say, you remember that whole controversy? There should be an easy mode for Souls games,
Yeah.
I remember that.
right? And here's the thing, it's so weird because I'm not even sure we count it in this topic. Because like, is difficulty really gatekeeping for like the game? Like at that point, you could consider anything that someone doesn't like gatekeeping, and then it loses all meaning. Gatekeeping as a word would lose all meaning if you stretched it too thin, right?
Like here's the thing that's super necessary about uh the gatekeeping that we're talking about is that these people come in, right? And let's say sure, the company would be like, oh, they have a point, and they change shit. So then, when they change that shit, the guy or the people or the Twitter users that advocated for that change will start gatekeeping themselves. You didn't like this change? Get out. Fuck those
especially
people.
since the creator essentially gave them an olive branch, so to speak, but it's more like leverage for
Bend
those
over.
yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the shit I can't stand.
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of? Homestuck. To
Oh
be
my
fair,
God.
to Andrew Hussey on his end, his vision of Homestuck was for it to be like collaboratively written in some way. If you recall the original Homestuck, and even in Problem Sooth, his previous work, then he'd have like he'd have boards where you can enter commands, and then he'd draw those commands in the story, because and it lets the
Ooh.
readers essentially interact with the
Yeah.
story.
But
Oh wait, you can say the same thing for SCP. It's collaborative, but like
They
the
so
SCPs now are like very
don't they have a
political, and
council?
a lot of people don't like that shit. But there
and
wasn't a gate.
here's my yeah.
I
The
mean,
thing the
it's still
thing
a
when
game.
there's no the thing when there's no gatekeeping is that it just lets anyone in, and the SCP thing is more interesting because like that is basically a community that has no gatekeeping.
Yeah.
It
Look at it.
doesn't. As far
It,
as I
Yeah.
recall, they have these standards that you have to meet. I was
uh, Here's the thing. There was a time where basically anything could be an entry, and that wasn't good either. Like there was time that really anything. That's why there's an entry number 248, or is it just 48? There's an entry that the joke is anything that's designated that gets destroyed, because it kept being really terrible entries that would just get deleted. And mind you, even in the days of like back then, the mods didn't want to be rude and delete anything, and that was just like super bad or like purposely offensive or straight up pornography. They wouldn't delete any of that, but like all the ones in like that number always ended up being just hot garbage, or literally just a stolen movie plot or something, or stuff like that, like real dumb stuff. So it just kept getting. I think that's on one end like the most extreme version of no gatekeeping.
Okay. Yeah.
But here's another thing. In the current one, there are standards, but the standards are mostly of on the technical merit, like not a lot of misspellings, that you don't forget, like, oh, this is what the object class is designated. This is the names of the various organizations in the lore, and like they all come in. And here's the thing: I get that part of it has always from the start been there's no conducive lore in the middle. That's why the continuities page has different labels, all the different continuities, as separate
yeah, they use
continuities.
the Marvel style. They use the Marvel style.
All right, but that just means that
Yeah.
anyone can kind of add anything as long as it's technically proficient, which means that there's like a lot of just dumb stuff. And I'm not saying that there's not bad stuff, that there's not good stuff in it. Like there's some articles that are new that are still fine, and there's some artists that authors that I really like. But even like among them, there's a lot of articles now that just seem to be I couldn't think of how to write this as an original work, so now it's an SCP. And also, it's barely SCP related. It's just me trying to work through my issues on page,
yeah,
and I
that's
and I hate that. I absolutely hate that. And listen, I know artists are, and listen, I know artists are trying to put their souls into their work, and I know that it's difficult. I believe me, because I've tried so many times, but it still doesn't make it good. And
Yeah.
and the fact that, well, it's not canon if it's not to you, does not change the fact that it exists, and it's like
It's a
totally,
stain. It's like a stain.
it's like a stain, and it's there. And you could say just ignore
I
it,
see. I see. I get what you
that it's
mean.
not canon. I'd like to point out, you can't say that because, oh, okay, so if I just took like these random, like the characters that are well known enough that they're in multiple continuities, and I just wrote one where they all decide to become murder rapists, you guys would have no problem, right? Because it's not canon in yours. It's like
No, that's
Oh yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing.
No,
Like,
I get
if
what you
you
mean.
find
I just
like
remembered. I just remembered there was this one SCP that I read that I found. I found kind of distasteful after I gave it a bit of a once over. I think it was something about it put you in this other. They had these agents go into another dimension, and it was very cheesy. Otherwise, not exactly what I'd expect out of an SCP. I can't remember the number. I know there was a castle. There was this thing that they had to keep away from the dudes.
oh, I
Something
like
think
like
I know what
that.
you're talking
vampire
about, but I don't
castle.
want to go too into it because
Not a
there
vampire.
can be
Like,
Yeah.
there can
well,
be an
yeah,
SCP.
wait. Well, yeah, it's the if you look at like some of the old no, not old form. There's some recent forums on like SCP and stuff, how like old
Recent ones.
old authors and all that talk about like where they think SCP has gone downhill. A lot of them be like, "Oh, it's all the new political stuff," and then other people, and I kind of agree with these people, say it's when authors started self-inserting themselves
Yeah, that never
as like
goes
Yeah,
right.
they
heroes,
had
and I
to.
was like,
I think.
"Yeah,
I think they had. There were. I think there was even an SCP that handled stuff like that. They used to be. They tend to be reality warpers, all right?
Yeah, listen,
Yeah, and then you'd have
the
Doctor Bright. I think
the
handle them.
self inserts was originally a privileged position given to for being a moderator of the site. And say what you will, but the original guys at the very least did not abuse it too heavily. Seriously,
Yeah.
like there's more articles starring them that have been deleted by them than ones that they've made of themselves. So, but once everyone started doing it, and even like the non-obvious self-inserts, where this is clearly just a thing that this was my OC that I wanted to make into an SCP, so people would be forced to read it. I mean, because there are some people who are obsessed and will read literally everything. But yeah.
Guilty.
Alright, but this is not the SCP podcast. That can
Yeah.
come later.
Yep.
This for now is
I'd have to read a lot more again.
yeah, this is
Been a while.
about gatekeeping and
Yes.
relation to SCP. That's what happens when you don't have enough gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you do have to tell people that sorry, you just can't come in. Because it can ruin a series. Homestuck, SCP,
Yeah, they need like a more. They need to put more. They need to. It needs to be like submitted to some group or something. They'll read up on it and say, "Oh, this does not sound very good. Oh, this is obviously an OC. Get that garbage out of my face." Type of deal.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's too late for that in the SCP verse, but
well,
in
technically
general.
everything in SCP is OC."
Well, yeah, obviously, but
No. OC character. You're like your self insert. I mean, my
Yeah,
bad.
self-inserting is the worst
Yeah,
part.
this is technically your self insert. Get this out of my face.
Yeah, self-insert Mary Sue
Yeah,
or Gary
multicolor
Sue.
hair and eyes. Good at
I'm an
everything.
SCP, guys. Guys, Trump is an SCP.
oh my god, oh my no. That
Oh wait, wait.
we
That
will save
reminds
that
me
for
of.
the SCP episode. We will save that for the
Yeah.
SCP
Okay. Okay.
episode because
Yes.
we could be on,
Oh my God.
we could be down that rabbit hole for an hour. I don't want to enter it.
I
I don't
know.
want to enter it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if this is too not enough gatekeeping or no gatekeeping at all, what is way too much gatekeeping?
Well, it's what we discussed
Hmm.
earlier, right? It's like
Like, is there a
with the
specific, an
Naruto thing at the
actual
start.
example? No, no. Oh, that's such a dumb one, though. I want something more
Yeah,
profound, like
and
the
that's an
SCP one.
extreme version.
Like fighting games. When you gatekeep fighting games, there is a level of gatekeeping that's enough. There's like gatekeeping that's too little. And I say it's too much when you say that someone has to really have to dedicate like their time for like has to spend hundreds of hours before they are a fighting game fan. And I agree, you actually have to technically like at least more than one fighting game to be a game of fighting. Yeah, to be a fan of fighting games. But as long as you like at least two from a different series, I consider you a fighting game
Play
fan.
them confidently.
But I don't think you need to be pro level in any to be a fighting game fan. I also think that it's important to distinguish that yes, the way that a pro sees a game and that a non-pro sees it are very different, and that the pro's opinion is more valid. But I don't think that it's fair to say don't talk if you're not professional level, because sometimes even casuals can
Yeah.
see the writing on the wall. Hell, you should be worried when
Yeah.
casuals can see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
When the casuals can say that a character is broken and like really broken, that they can tell, and it even translates to the pro, then you're like, yes, actually, this
Something need
character
to
is
be
a
done.
problem. But yeah, I think that's one of the ones, like casualizing fighting games. And if you don't gatekeep it enough, if you just let anyone into the fighting game community and say that anyone's opinion on fighting games is equally valid, I think that's when you're losing. I think you're losing the soul of what makes fighting games, because I'm not saying that it's
Yeah.
not. I'm not saying that a casual fan or like well, so if you don't make it seem like bad, like casual earlier, I don't think we're saying that a normal level fan is wrong for having an opinion, even if it disagrees with the pro. I mean, I think the pros' opinions have more weight, but I think they're allowed to speak. But at the same time, I think you can't just let anyone play fighting games, or who plays a fighting game even once and says, "No, my opinion is equally valid." I meant, there's a book
Yeah, that's
literally
right.
titled
No.
"The Toxic Meritocracy of Fighting Games," and I'm like, have you ever been so salty you wrote a book about it? That's a real book.
Meritocracy. My
It's
God.
called.
Well, of course you got to earn your
You
stripes
ever
there, and if not, then you can always prove your worth in the time-honored tradition of Mortal Kombat bowling.
Bowling
have you
mini
ever
games.
been so salty that you've written a book is literally every political book out there?
That sounds like a really good title for a book.
Getting salty about something.
Have you ever been so salty that you wrote a book? That's the title of the book.
Yeah, I'm
Kind of wish I kind of want that cut out so I can write the book.
Yeah, and see, I think that's the thing that we can most disagree on with people who say that. Yeah, and I think we all agree that there has to be some level of commitment being asked from you, and it's not bad if that commitment is fairly large. And I get that some people want to be able to experience something without having to commit, because people are wishy-washy like that. But when you
Yeah.
allow those wishy-washy people to enter a community and be a big voice in it, you create a wishy-washy community. You can't have you can't have a society filled with dumb people ruled by a few smart people and expect society to be smart. I mean, let's pretend the politicians are smart. I know it's a big ask. But let's pretend. Even if we
Yes.
pretend that they were, it's not as if society filled with dumb people is suddenly smart. It's not. And I'm not even saying that people are stupid in general. Or actually, I am. An individual person can be smart, but people in clusters tend to be stupid. And I'm not. It is self-evident right now that society is stupid.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it's the reason why in any form of governance, more often than not, there's this trend of decreasing intelligence of some form, or rather, trend of decreasing displayed intelligence
And
in
people who
the in
think just because
the
that they're anti something, they're
government.
smart.
Hating
I
something doesn't make you
yeah.
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't.
dumbasses. I hate you bastards, and I'm smarter than you.
Want to prove that?
If I don't like anything, then that means I'm the smartest person alive, because cynicism is equal to intelligence.
Hmm.
Does that make you a nihilist?
Joey, you dropped your fedora.
Oh, let me pick it up.
Milady?
Fedora, that's a trilby.
Milady.
That's a trilby. That's a trilby, guys. Get it right.
No, oh no.
Oh no, he's gatekeeping us from being fedora tippers.
Damn.
Tippers.
Oh, Joey, it's fine. Miraculous Ladybug makes Milady cool again.
Milady. Oh gosh. Can he have a hat in one of his transformations? That'd be so great. Yeah, you have to gatekeep at a certain level, right? But back to Joe's question, yeah, what do you guys think is too much gatekeeping? And not like, I mean, P already gave that example, but that's like a really specific and kind of dumb one. I think, like, for my example, would be like, if a pro would say that literally only other pros can talk. Like, I will grant you that their opinions matter more, or it should carry more weight. But I don't think that disqualifies everyone else's opinion, guys.
Yeah, because
I mean,
even
for me,
the
obviously, you should
casual,
threaten people's safety to gatekeep.
even the casual has a different point of view from a pro, because they get a more I wouldn't say concentrated, more like they tend to go for specific, they tend to like specific things in the things that they do, and that gives them a point of view that may be different from a pro, because the pro will start digging into the mechanics, the technicalities. Here it can also be, it can be about like what's a word for that again, aesthetics.
Oh yeah, aesthetics. There's
No,
that.
no, that lore, I think lore can be enjoyed by everyone, like even just casually.
Some
Yeah.
people would disagree, I think, because some people are saying that, and I don't mean like from the perspective of, I think anyone deep into the lore of something assumes that everyone can like the lore of it. I think
Okay,
some
wait,
people,
I'm gonna.
I think some people coming from outside will assume that if a lore is too complex and big, that they can't get into it. Because I've heard it before a lot that people are like, I want to get into comic books, but I don't know where to start. Is it really okay to
Oh
start
yeah,
from? It's why they keep renumbering them. Is it okay to start from number one? Uh, this series says X and
is it
Y or new
standalone?
event?
Is it
Yeah.
standalone? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. Also, like I want to go. I want to go to a side thing that I remember about the card games that I play. They nerfed this one card in Hearthstone some time ago, Mind Control. This is a long time back when I still played. And they made it strong. They made it more expensive because they noticed that even though it wasn't exactly broken, it still felt bad when you dropped your giant monster and he's all like, "Okay, I'ma take that. It's mine now." So even the feel bads that the casuals and normies feel when they play the game are there's still valid points of view, even though the pros are all like, "Oh, I am expecting mind control. Let's not do this," something like that. But they don't exactly dig into the minutiae of the meta. So of course, they play the big thing. It gets stolen, something like that. But that's their point of view is still valid relative to the pro.
Uh, I
Yeah.
can sort of agree that preserving fun in activities, or maybe not even fun, like entertainment in them, is necessary. Well,
Yeah,
not even entertainment,
like
because there are some things that you watch or experience to make yourself suffer, and the suffering is part of the experience. But
Like Dark
it's the
Souls.
the original
yeah,
experience is what you want to preserve there. That's what
yeah,
you're
there. That's what I'm trying to say. You want to try to preserve as much of the original experience as possible, but it's okay to make concessions for the greater good. Just don't lose the core of what makes it itself.
Yeah. Yeah, if the
yeah.
game is about making people suffer, then some portions of it should stay. Like some other things should be quality of life then, though.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference between losing soul and just sanding out the edges.
Hmm.
But our
Yeah,
big
like
problem. But
my
Huh. Is that is
the
that
reason we
also
gatekeep. Sorry,
is
I
that
think
also an argument for like mods?
for like why games
uh,
should be allowed to be modded. I think
Yeah.
so. I think, well, I'm pro mod. I'm pro for modding games as long as
yeah,
I
it's
am
possible.
also pro mod, but like I guess I could see like
the purists.
yeah.
No, it must be all kept in its original state. Final
Uh,
Fantasy VII
oh, I
remake, dude.
think that
That's a big
I think
example right there.
anti-modders are the gatekeeping going too far. Because when you're
Mm.
Yeah,
modding
because
Ooh, yes.
when you're modding the game, you're not changing anyone else's experience. It's literally your own experience of the game. And so at that point, when you're anti-modding them, uh, that's it. It's like, why are you stopping this person from
No.
enhancing
Okay,
their experience?
okay. Wait. Here, hold up. Because that's the thing. Like, what I have a problem with is like when people say it's like if you don't like it, you just go to something else. At least with modding, there's an alternative to keep it vanilla. But if someone messes up, say like your anime, they wildly deviate it from like the manga. Oh, it's not like anyone else is gonna make an anime of
wait,
the same
yeah,
series, so you're screwed. So
It's
yeah,
why
yeah,
that
that's
that
it's
another.
what
reminds
makes
me.
the
Yeah,
Berserk anime even worse. No one's gonna remake those parts better. At least not anytime soon.
yeah.
That
It will
reminds me.
happen.
That statement you said, Joe. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. That's bad gatekeeping.
Nope.
All right, this is an
No, because
interesting go.
no. That's the thing that tends to kill games. That's the thing I kept hearing when I was when I was like on the cusp of quitting Hearthstone, and that's what I did. I quit.
Oh,
Now I just watch it on the side.
you still consume. No, I'd say like
I know. I don't think so.
what?
I
It,
think
it ties into our thing that's earlier. If you don't like it, what point do you have in being there?
It
no,
depends
no.
on who is saying that.
Yeah, that's
Who
also
is
true.
saying like who is saying,
Or
hey, if
what
you
the
don't like it, leave.
circumstance is.
Yeah, right. Because like
The
yeah,
circumstances.
like what I said earlier, the person
They
that's
already
not a
changed
fan
it.
but changed everything, and he's the one that's saying if you don't like it, leave. That's bad.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, what if someone gatekeep kept that guy by saying if you don't enjoy our thing, you can leave, and so his change never happened. It's like I'd be fine
Yeah.
with that.
I get the context point now. Yep. I
I
get
don't
Yeah.
like the cycle of like, hey, we enjoy this space, and then people are like, whoa, you're not being inclusive, let us in. They
And then
get
yeah,
in
no,
this
and then
they get in the space and they're like, hey, you don't fit in. So you leave, make your own space again, and they're like, hey, you're not including us
yeah,
in.
exactly.
It's a
I don't like that
cycle.
either.
And I
And
don't
Yeah, I don't
like
like
that
that.
cycle.
and I
I
think
think most of the people who are like that are on Twitter.
and I think it depends on what you're asking them to change. Like if you're asking them to change something that is intrinsic to the series, then I think yeah, the only answer is get out if you don't like it. It's like, hey, can I get an easy mode on Dark Souls? It's like, no, get out.
Oh,
That's part of the point. Can I play Pathologic and not be filled with suffering? No, it's not even a different game. In fact, the second game gives you the option to remove the suffering, and then it makes fun of you for picking the choice because it's not
F.
the way.
so that's a thing. Like for me, sometimes when games get like when the difficulty spike is too big, and I'm like, I'd like to keep playing, but this part is really fucking me up. That's why I'm pro mod. I was like, oh, I'll just mod my stats for this one part and then put it back to normal after.
Oh,
So I'm like, I'm
that's also like a little discussion. Like Destiny 2, I think it's Destiny 2. There was a part in the co-op uh story that you have to at the very end ish. I wait, story or no whatever. At the very end, it you only get a chance to see the ending. Which like and no
what?
matter if you did good or bad, you only get a chance to see the ending. Which like a lot of people are like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, that's
And
dumb.
and it's and technically I think the people are saying, oh well, you know, we want to make it fair for everyone. But like how's that fair? So like the
Just
people
keep
who actually
playing.
did good don't get this chance, they don't get to see the ending, but like a person that did terribly has a chance to see the ending.
Wait, but is this even gatekeeping? Sorry, like what
No,
you're saying
I don't
sounds
think
dumb
it's
and
really
annoying, but I
gatekeeping.
don't think that's gatekeeping. I think that's just bad decisions.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that's
bad
like
game design.
no, because that's it's related to gatekeeping because that's I think that's the devs being like we don't want to gatekeep, but that's the wrong way of doing it.
Oh, like you. Oh, so you mean in general, making things RNG reduces gatekeeping because everyone has an equal chance of being lucky, right?
Yeah,
Okay, I get you. I get you. Yeah, and in that I understand. When you increase the luck factor, and this is like true basically for anything that's played, right? You increase the luck factor, you reduce the skill gap, you make everything more casual, but at the same time, no one really likes things that are no one likes things that are too easy or too luck based,
Yeah,
except unless they're gambling, and even then, not really. It's
yeah.
sort
I
of like
mean,
why
look,
no one plays tic tac toe, like not for like reals, right? No one plays it except with like little kids who don't know the tie strategy because everyone knows what to do, right? It's like yeah, just no one can win, so no one plays it because it's too low skill. Other like really baby games, no one plays them because they're too low skill. But at the same time, no one's gonna spin a roulette wheel unless there's money involved or there's prizes
Yeah, it's
slash
not like there's like a
punishments.
tic-tac-toe game where you like roll the dice just to see if the middle square will be an X or an O.
And it's like that game wouldn't be interesting either because not only is it low skill, it's low skill and chance based, and it's like what? No one would like that.
Double
Yeah.
negative.
It's like the ultimate double negative. Without a certain skill level, no one will play it. But attempting to reduce that skill level will almost always end badly. Is what I guess I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like Lance. It's why there's no coin flip mechanic. It's why barely any coin flip mechanics exist anymore in MTG, and why there's no dice roll mechanics.
Barely any. Oh yeah. Well, no official, in main game official dice roll mechanics. And
Until maybe the
I mean,
D&D set.
they did make Krark, but
Yeah,
like use what, one card out of how many?
yeah. So in
How many
general, right?
thousands already?
Yeah.
Yep, in
So
general.
in general, you want to avoid it because people don't like it. Luck is a funny thing, right? You like it when it helps you beat the guy better than you. You hate it when it makes you lose.
Yeah, that's
Honestly,
true.
if it's bad enough, you can point at it and say, "Oh, this happens in one in every something million games." So, okay, I guess I'm not gonna expect that to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
If it happens multiple times,
Yeah.
if it doesn't happen multiple times, I mean.
When it's like when the luck factor is like completely random but consistently involved, that's when it's terrible. That's game design gatekeeping on a mechanical level. In the community level, getting back to it, yeah, there is a certain level where you can say if you don't like it, then leave. When you're affecting the very soul of the game itself.
Yeah.
I mean, to go back to Magic, it's got a mana system. Some people don't like the mana system, but at this point, there are too many cards that just the game can
Yeah,
only
rely
work
on
with
mana.
with only
Yeah.
the mana system. At this point,
Yeah.
if you tell them
It's
I don't
balanced
like,
around the way.
yeah, at this point you can't tell people I don't like the mana system. Let's change it. It doesn't. There's
Yeah.
no the cards are not designed around it. You cannot do that. It is literally a
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you don't like it, you have to leave.
I'll go. Yeah.
I mean, there have been people trying to push a format where they're all like, "Oh, your mana is in one pile, the rest of the cards are in another, and then you just play one every turn." But the issue is the game is already designed around the card, you not being able to get this much mana producers in this turn,
Yeah.
and
And
Yeah, it's a
that
core.
can cause
Yeah, it's a core
problems.
function of the gameplay.
and
So
Wizards
of course you
already
should need.
created a better mana
Yeah.
system. It's just the
Yep,
game
in
died,
Duel
but
Masters.
yeah. But
Well,
you know,
the game died worldwide. And if you want to play a game that's got the mana in a separate deck thing, you can try Force of Will. And it apparently uses the same mechanics as Magic, but I heard it has its own mistakes. So,
Oh wait, hey, that's
grain of salt.
a thought came to my head. What about
Mm-hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons?
gatekeeping
It
on
gets
it or from
fantasy
a
conversion.
game design.
No, like you guys remember the controversy about it, right? How they changed lore just to appease people
No, I don't remember
Yeah,
this
that-
actually.
that aren't
No, I
even
haven't heard
fans
of it.
of
I
D
don't
and
think I
D.
haven't heard of it. I haven't
It's the
heard of
one.
this.
Uh,
I request sources.
Oh, it just
it's the
yeah. Go ahead.
it's the whole whoa, orcs are black people.
Nope, I haven't heard
yeah.
of that.
Oh, right, where they're saying
No.
orcs were
It's
black
like.
coded.
Yeah. No. People. Yeah. What? This was posted on my birthday last year. Yeah, because it's like, why are you conflating orcs with black people? It's like no one said that. Okay, so
Yeah,
then
so
they're like,
like
okay, we'll just
the people who
make
didn't
orcs.
play, who don't play D&D, are like, we have to change orcs because they're equal to black people. But like, no one ever said that orcs are equal black people. But D&D changed it anyway.
What did they change about it? I haven't kept up with D&D
Yeah.
since 3.5.
Like
Yeah,
orcs
I
are
haven't heard any.
orcs have that inherently evil thing, right? About their race. That's their thing.
Oh, all right,
And
right,
they
yeah.
changed that, so like, oh no, actually all races are the same thing.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they only
they took away inherently evil races.
which is so like I guess that doesn't affect gameplay, but like that really
What have
just
I done?
changed everything.
Yeah, it'd be weird. Like, it'd be like saying that the tiefling, like the tieflings don't have to be evil or at least chaotic.
All happened around my birthday. The publisher of Dungeons and Dragons says it will adjust the way it portrays some of its quote unquote evil races, such as the quote unquote savage orcs and the quote unquote depraved dark elves.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that how the
No.
dark elves capture their enemies and
Like-
use
Oh
them as
my
breeding
God.
stock. That's
I don't
canon.
know how it would relate
Yeah.
to black people. Maybe it's just like they're
It
going by,
doesn't-
oh, this
The
looks like
people
a
who are
black
complaining
person,
about
so-
it are racist
It
for thinking
doesn't.
that it's like projecting.
They
Oh,
just saw
shit.
orcs and they were like, "Hey, this is black people."
They're the ones who are racist.
Not exactly orcs, but the trolls from Warcraft. They're Jamaican. They're Rastafarians. I mean, sorry, they're Rastafarians. That's like
dingo.
that's like 100%.
Bingo.
Like yeah, it's like that one you can't really argue. It's like yeah, listen, the fact that they're a fantasy race does not change the fact that Blizzard was lazy and they are literally just
Yeah.
Rastafarians, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is different. This is this is really dumb. But yeah,
Like,
that's
I was gonna say that
like, I
the
remember that.
change is fine.
What?
Because the change is fine, because if they were initially defined as potentially evil, and then eventually, if both races were initially defined as potentially evil and they eventually got changed to like we're not baseline evil, that's fine. That means there are more options for player characters in some
But
way if
D
they're
and D
baseline
has
evil.
the thing about the D&D character creation has the alignment charts.
Yes, like they're apparently they're baseline evil
So
here,
like yeah, so everyone is just in the middle again. Like you don't want to make a character that's like evil but like have a redemption arc. No, everyone's just
you can still do
Joe.
that. You can still
Well,
do that.
no, because that's it. You could. It's not like you
You
can't
can
make.
still do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I think from a gameplay perspective, it doesn't change much.
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't because you could say that you can start
It
a human
means
character
less,
as evil.
Yes.
At this point, really, it's only the I assume if they're even still in the game, the celestial races are probably the only ones who are still stuck as a certain alignment at the beginning of character
Like
creation.
no, yeah, and then
Inherently
even
good
then they're
people.
like it's like it means less posturing if someone were to say, oh, I want to play as a good orc, like not someone who's redeemed or something. I want someone who started as a good orc and want him to be a good orc for the entire game.
Yeah, and also
there's
like
less
the racial
homebrewing
differences
that needs to be
between
done.
the racial differences between them in terms of stats. That's something that I think should never be taken away because
Yeah, because
it does
like that
it does
it's
change things,
genetically
and
it's
then
genetic
yeah, it's
in the
genetic.
game.
It changes things, and then if all of them had, if there were no racial differences in stats, there would be no point in being
Yeah,
an
point of
elf
playing.
warrior or an orc wizard because at that point you're all humans in cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And I think stuff
still,
like
it's
that
really
is why you have to
I said it
gatekeep
again.
at a certain level. It's fine. You have to gatekeep at a certain level because
But too much is no good.
too much is no good. And we've been talking about the ones too much, but there's a right amount. You have to tell people that no, this is part of the soul of the thing, and you shouldn't
Like, I'm
change
sorry,
it.
like the reason why I keep saying that too much is no good is because when you gatekeep too hard, you get what's the word for that? You get bullying.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get reactionary channels where they're all like, this person is bad because they said something. Let's go attack them on social media.
Like
You
the
get
fucking
that.
like the quartering. Holy shit!
Yeah, fuck that guy.
I fucking hate
Okay, okay.
I hate the shill channels and I hate the anti fan channels. They're just
Okay.
they're all
Like,
just
yeah.
screaming
We
at
can
each
say
other.
we can say like yeah, we don't like. You can say and on your channels, I don't like this guy. I like that guy. But if you are the guy who's like, I don't like this guy, so I'm gonna send hate to that guy. Fuck you.
Yes.
Even if I don't like that guy you're targeting, fuck you.
Yes. Yeah, that's too much. Just say I disagree. Don't say go bum rush
This
that
is
guy.
yeah. Like I said, it's like if you're threatening someone, like their safety or their livelihood, you're going too far.
Yeah,
That's
I think
why I
what
have to keep saying
I was going to say, what people don't realize is, at the end of the day, at least when from a community perspective, gatekeeping is saying something like, listen, your opinion just isn't as valid as the standard community members, or like, you should probably get out because you're not going to enjoy this thing. And that may sound a little harsh, but sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's true, and it's just like the thing you want to change or the thing that you don't like is the thing that makes it special.
Yeah.
And two, I think people just need to not get offended when they're told, yeah, you can't come here. It's
Exactly.
like the weirdest thing, because
It's
and
It's like
I
me.
get, because like the quality of a product is
seems
not
a
like
bit weird, no?
some inalienable right, but people, the way that you enjoy media is in a way, uh it's somewhat intrinsic to you, unless like you go through a journey of relearning it.
yeah.
But
It's like me. Like for me, it's like I don't go to people who like harem anime and be all like, "Yo, you got to change it so that I like it." So I don't do that. And I also don't expect those people to be all like, "Yeah, come on in and tell me all the reasons why you hate it and why it should be changed." Yeah, they don't need to listen
We
to
have
my
to.
dumbass.
Yeah, we have to bring the harem anime to him.
It's the easiest thing to ridicule. It's absolute garbage.
he's right. uh it's sort of like that, like
It
just
tries too
saying,
hard,
it's like
or it gets really cool.
if someone came in and said, I hate harem anime, it needs to change into this and this, and it's like, then it's not harem anime anymore, and you just don't like harem anime, and so why are you trying to get into it? Like,
Exactly. Yeah,
and I
that's I
kind of
think the
get that
biggest
maybe,
reason why.
and I think some people, I think anyone who's like anti gatekeeping might just be because they don't understand like the soul of the thing, or like the levels of
That's true. Like,
change about a product until it's no longer the thing that's worth
Yeah, just look at the Star Wars
loving.
sequels.
But yeah, it's like, what can you change that
But-
still maintains its soul? And I think that that's a point of argument, like what is the soul of this thing?
What
And
even need a change in the first place?
Honestly,
Why?
you know what I think the
Why would
issue
just
is?
because people
Joe,
want
Joe,
it to change, it should?
Joe,
Nah.
the issue is less. It's more. What's the word for that again? It's more poor planning in the in point of the sequel. That's my point of view on it, at least.
poor planning,
No,
how?
it's just bad.
No, like even the prequels had a plan, a storyline that they were gonna follow.
yeah, Darth Jar
Yeah,
Jar.
maybe changing your director. Never mind. That's
Darth
an.
Jar
No, yeah,
Well,
exactly. No,
I believe,
well, yeah, they changed the
Peel.
director partway through, but there should have been a consistent thing. But they had no plan. Remember, right, Joey?
Yeah, they had no plan.
Yeah,
They
so
admitted
it's
that.
bad.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's bad.
It's so much. I hate it more for what it does to the already established characters. But then that's just me. No, that's not really just me.
Well, there are a lot of people who agree with you. Yeah, I think people are arguing about what makes the soul of a franchise, and it's like, and
It's hard to define.
it's hard to define, and we need another podcast for that, because one, we're almost
Oh yeah.
we're
That's
nearing
also.
we're nearing 2 hours, so I don't want to get us
Okay.
into super long tangents.
So we're not doing examples.
We already did like several.
Yeah, those are examples.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. No. What did you want to talk about?
I'm going back into Warhammer.
Uh huh.
Like,
Are you going to talk about the?
I'm going to talk about the Marvel comic.
Okay, I've not heard about this. Do tell.
The Marvel
Oh, but that's
comic.
more of like the writers not knowing what the lore is. So they
Yeah,
really
Yeah,
fuck it up. It's not
but
really.
this is not
that's
sorry.
not
This isn't a vent
gatekeeping.
podcast. This isn't gatekeeping, and like
Oh, well,
calling
okay.
something bad is not gatekeeping. We
No,
established that earlier.
But there are people who do like the Marvel comic, and they're telling the people who don't like the Marvel comic, get out.
No, that's bad gatekeeping.
Well,
Man.
It's
to get out from the
like,
comic or from
these
or from
people
Warhammer itself.
From
from
Warhammer.
Warhammer itself.
Okay, yeah, because now that's bad gatekeeping.
Yeah, because like these people like going to the whole soul thing. They think the soul of Warhammer is rule of cool, which fuck you, no, it isn't. Rule of cool meaning
like-
I can change whatever I want as long as it's cool. Hey, the super OP thing. Yeah, this one guy can kill him because he's an ultramarine. Oh, hey, those tech.
Okay. You just needed to say that one word. You just need to say ultramarine, and I understand everything now.
Oh, hey, those tech priests that
Decks
can
to come
kill
out.
kill a cultist by ripping them apart with their metal arms. They're actually the joke of the Imperium. That's in this comic. Well, you don't like it? You don't like that a faction is just a joke? Get out, piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
I'm gonna go leave.
and I
That's
think
dumb
I think really
already.
and I think ultimately the fact that people can argue about what the soul of a franchise is means that people actually are all pro gatekeeping. Everyone is to a certain extent.
Yeah.
They're just arguing about what the soul that needs to be gate kept is. And it's harder for like a
That is
franchise
subject
because like
to
for a community it's easy to gatekeep what like a community is. You know the people, you know the tenants, you know the like if you follow the FCG, you know who the big guys are who define who's there. And tenants, right? You could say that for a lot of like big maybe fandoms, but for like a series itself, just to get into it, it it's harder because not right. It's easier to stop someone from getting into a community than it is from just being part of a fandom. But yeah, so back to my main point. Gatekeeping good because everyone's is self-evidently good because everyone's doing it. They're just arguing about
Yeah.
what the soul is and isn't of a particular thing.
Well, yeah, what you need to gatekeep.
Yeah, and that's why gatekeeping is good because you lose something by not gatekeeping. Uh, and maybe we can kind of wrap this up with a little thing you were talking about how at what level should you gatekeep to manage getting new people versus
Retaining your
core fan
older
base. Yeah.
Oh wait,
core fan
hey,
base.
actually, one last question. What do you think of those people? Those people that don't like gatekeeping, that are like the old stuff is still there. You don't have to gatekeep. This is just for us new people.
It has to be you can't say it in broad strokes. It has to be super specific because it's sort
Yeah.
of like
it's a case to case basis type of deal.
if you want to go back to something we already mentioned, it's like Star Wars. You can actually say that okay, well the old stuff is still there. Yeah, but the old stuff will never be added onto anymore because all new continuity goes through the Disney filter. And so I can
Yeah.
see why people would be upset by like I'd like the old continuity and I wanted more stories from there.
I
Versus
mean, they're doing that though, aren't they?
no, actually, they're not. All comics, like the Vader comics that we talk about,
Staying-
those
yeah.
are all Disney
Yeah.
continuity.
New, yeah.
Uh,
Things like the older books are all gone,
yeah,
dude.
and the High Republic is Disney.
Yeah, the EU.
Yeah, and yeah, right.
Oh, are you talking about the EU, like the original EU? Then there, and you want more stories from that original EU, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We're not
okay,
talking
yeah,
about
then.
you're not talking about. We're talking about the extended universe because that
Like,
you can
even
you
if
can make
they
an
take
argument
the-
that yeah all the old books are there. No one's taking them away, but they are
Nothing
not
new is
going to
gonna be
add to them
added.
anymore. So it is going to
Yeah.
grow old and stale. And some people wanted them to still get content. Versus sometimes it's just yeah, there's a new book series in a series that you just don't like, but that's just for some people, and like that's fine. I think it's sort of like when they do spin-off
You
books of
completely exclude the other people. Who are already fans, by the way, who are already fans.
See that
You
I think
exclude
that's
those
more.
kinds of people. That
I
would
think that might
damage you
be.
more.
I think
That
that might
damage
be more. I think that might be more in the management of the IP.
I'd still say that's worse. If you do your core fan base dirty,
Yeah.
like those are the
You know,
people
like
spending money, consuming a lot of their time. The people who are like newly initiated, they probably haven't dropped hundreds of dollars, lots of hours. They're not that invested. So if you don't do what they want, they'll be like, okay, maybe I'll just leave then.
On the other hand, from the business perspective, that's exactly why, right? Because they got to keep the people invested. They want to keep the new people invested because they think the old ones will just keep crawling back to them. And unfortunately,
Yeah,
some
that's
people
Yeah.
just
also true.
and unfortunately some fans just prove them right. And it's like you got to learn to let
Pokemon
go.
fans.
Yes, Pokemon fans
Hey,
need to
excuse
learn to
me,
let
I
go.
left.
speaking
I
of the
left.
whole like business thing, once more back into Warhammer.
Oh God.
So like no, people have been saying, and I sort of agree that most of the books have been just about the Imperium, about humans in general. So
Yeah.
there has been outcry for like, hey, can we have books about the Xenos, about the Tau, about the Eldar?
Haven't there
People
been?
who
There
don't
have
matter.
no here. There have been there's this whole series about an Eldar, a dark Eldar who created her own faction of Eldar, and that has been a pretty good series, but they stopped it. You know why? No
Why?
one bought it. And on the other side of that, people keep buying Space Marines, so there are way more Space Marine books. There are way more Space Marine models.
Like actually, that reminds me of why they're the way they're handling planeswalkers in Magic the Gathering. They're all humanoid, and it looks like it's because their market research is saying that non-humanoid planeswalkers aren't very interesting. Even though they might be the most interesting, they might be really interesting. I think it's just not going to sell very well. That might be why Ivrain, in the same way Ivrain didn't sell very well.
I agree with those sentiments, though I'm not sure that that's gatekeeping. All right, since we're
Yeah,
starting to
that's
wander
true.
off topic, I guess end result is what you're trying
Good
to.
time to close.
Yeah, I guess we could just get to the end result. And based on what we were just saying, is once again, it's really just gatekeeping is good because you have to preserve a certain something to it. With
Hmm.
Pio's little question earlier, it's like new stuff that isn't meant to cater to like older fans. That's fine as long as it doesn't affect the rest of it. Like,
Exclude. Yeah.
yeah, no, I even think it doesn't. It literally is not for the old fans like at all. It like like a demake to remake or something, or like a casualized version of the, or like a mobile version of the game, or
It's
a
also
Pachinko. Like I don't think the Pachinko products hurt all the games that have Pachinko versions. I know
It
some
just
people
makes people mad that they put their money and
budget
resources
there,
into
yeah.
that.
But like I
Yeah.
don't I don't think
that's
there's
what
anything wrong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong
that's
with the
what made
Pachinko
like
MGS game.
that's what made like the
No, it's
companies
retarded.
like mad, right? There are people like on Twitter or on the forums or whatever demanding a thing. So they're like, okay, sure, let's make thing, and then nobody buys thing. Meaning you weren't actually a fan, you just wanted to change something.
You just
Yeah, that's
wanted to
also
exist.
that
Yeah,
also
well,
happens.
That
that one, I
sucks.
think that's why you should gatekeep against that,
Yeah,
because
those are the
you
people
don't
that you
want the
should
company to
gatekeep.
use their resources for stuff like that. Now, hypothetically,
Yeah.
if the company made something that isn't for the old fans and it's really just for new fans, as long as it doesn't or as long as it doesn't affect the old material negatively, I think that's fine. It's like there's no reason to be against it if it doesn't hurt the old material, just because it's only meant for like uh newer players or newer fans.
So like, wow, man, you talking about the whole changes thing. Like, oh boy, you should have been at the boards and the forums when they introduced the tab.
Oh
Yeah, but
like
I think
that
that's
was
like an example of like negative
sentiment.
gatekeeping.
Yeah, like
Because like now the
that's
tower
something
there, and it's like I'm sure there's some people who are still mad, but
that's something that I wanted to bring up. I haven't brought up the new thing bad effect. Like whenever something changes, there's always going to be this group of, honestly, admittedly they're fans, but there's always going to be this group of fans that are going to be that are going to react it. Okay, this is really bad. It's probably going to kill franchise or game. Let's not do it. There's always going to be that group.
uh,
But yeah,
Like, okay, wait. Another thing for me, it's like, oh, it's not for like older fans. It's fucking Thundercats Roar. Are you kidding me with that shit?
that is where gatekeeping against the company is a good thing.
with stuff like
Yeah, it's
Thundercats
like
Roar, yeah, because there is a reason also to gatekeep in that level because companies have limited resources and you don't want them to make stuff that doesn't sell. That they tried
only
something
doesn't
different,
sell,
then not only doesn't
and
sell,
then
it prevents because if it doesn't sell, it prevents them from making other stuff.
exactly, and then it also like it really does sort of negatively affect what came before because now when you type in Thundercats, you're probably gonna get images from the more recent things. So it sort of in a way it just fucks with it.
Yeah, but aren't you just mad that when you Google search, you see images of something you don't like, versus it actually
Yeah, that
affecting the
too.
series? Sorry, man.
No, it
Uh,
did. Oh God, I don't want to remember the things they did to my boy Lionel.
anyway, I guess as our in conclusion happens to be that yeah, changes are fine. It's not like there's anything wrong with them. As you just have to try to figure out what the soul of the thing is. And so you have to gatekeep because if you don't, then everything could change. Because there are people just not gonna like everything, and some people just don't understand that not everything is for you and that not everything should be for you.
Yeah,
Right? Some people
that's the
want to
meat
be
of it.
part of everything, and you can't.
Agree.
Just because it's
It's not
popular.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and just because something becomes
Yeah.
popular or even relatively popular doesn't mean it's for you. Sorry that you can't be part of the conversation, but you don't like it. You like the part that seemed kind of hype that you didn't understand what it really was about. It turns
Yeah.
out you didn't like it. Yeah. Sorry, but get out.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Yeah, I guess there's not much else to say. Uh, so tune in
Thanks for
next
listening.
time. Yeah.
Oh, there's
To,
probably plenty to say, but if you're
It
watching,
dips into other
comment
topics.
on the what we missed or whatever.
yeah, comment
Yeah.
on what you missed.
Yeah, give your own point of view.
Yeah, comment on what you missed. Tell
Call us
us.
idiots if you want.
Yeah, call us idiots.
Sorry.
Tell us if we forgot to edit something out that seemed really dumb. And tell us what we should talk about next time. Although the next topic, a couple of us are probably going to talk about the universes beyond and magic, which will be a shorter podcast. But yeah,
Yep.
and stay tuned. These things might come twice a month now, depending how I edit this.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Amazing.
Monthly.
Good luck. Goodbye. And I'm gonna go stand up because this thing took so
Don't
long
forget
that
to
I
wash
pissed my
your
pants.
hands.